Hi everyone, it's Don and I hope you're having a fantastic day. Well, I just want to tell you this story of an article that I read from KWTX, a Waco, Texas website about a couple from there that went on a Carnival cruise and ended up having a nightmare and are now trying to recover not only physically but financially. And a lot of this probably could have been prevented. So I'm going to read you the story and then I'm going to tell you some tips so this kind of thing doesn't happen to you as well, or at least you're well aware that this kind of stuff can happen. So we have the Daniels family and they went on a cruise for Carnival Cruise Line into Mexico. They decided to go on this shore excursion and lo and behold, they get on a scooter and have an accident. And it's a pretty severe accident. The gentleman's arm was hurt. The mother was on her back. She ended up going in and out of consciousness. So it was a very serious accident in Mexico. And they were brought to the hospital, and the hospital didn't want to do anything. They said, yeah, they didn't want to run tests, they didn't want to do anything, they were putting him in the waiting room, and then the daughter showed up with the son, and she's a nurse, so she immediately took charge and said, we need this done, we need this done, and this done, and the hospital said, sure, you got to pay us cash. And the son thought this was rather odd, but his parents are there, they're in pain, they need service, they need help, and he got the cash and paid them cash. Thousands of dollars in cash directly to the doctors. So they finally ran the tests and there was some stuff that they needed. Apparently they needed surgery, but they didn't want to have them perform the surgery in Mexico. They wanted to fly them home to the United States and get their doctors to look after them and medical care from the United States. Well, there's a problem. First off, the daughter on board didn't have her passport on this trip. She only left the ship because her parents were in trouble. The son had his passport, but it was back on the ship. And so when he contacted Carnival, they were already 30 minutes past the sailing date, and the Carnival said, I have 8,000 passengers waiting for us. We can't hold the ship any longer for you to gather up all your documents and things like that. The daughter headed back to the ship because she didn't have a passport. And here's a word of warning to everybody out there. We all kind of think it's funny and things like that when you have pier runners. Well, she shows up 40 minutes late, 45 minutes late. She's in tears. Her parents are in the hospital and she doesn't know what's going to happen with them. They're demanding money. There's no insurance. There's all this other stuff going on. And people start booing her and things as she's heading to the ship, thinking she's just shopping and late. And I've done it myself. Everyone has done it themselves, clapping. And I don't boo anybody, I clap. Because I would expect that if I was late and running, but it's not always somebody who is just thoughtless running to the pier. Sometimes it's a very severe reason they didn't come back on time. In this case, their parents are lying in hospital. So she's back on the ship, the son is there, and he says, okay, we want to fly them back to the United States. Well, they said, sure, but you're going to have to pay for it. He thought, okay, I have to pay for a plane ticket. No. They said, you'll have to go through the government officials and have them fly you back because it's a medical situation. You have to hire a private plane to fly you back to the United States. The flight itself cost around $34,000 to do. In cash, by the way, in cash. Also, the time that they were spent in hospital for the services they did, they were charged another $11,000 on top of that. And then there were other fees because they needed temporary passports. They needed document stop, $600 here, $800 there, $500 there. At one point, he just ran out of money. And they argued for quite a bit, and they finally they did put him on a plane. Now picture this, you're there with your injured parents who need medical surgery on a private plane, and you think, okay, they're gonna put me in some kind of jet, they're gonna put me in, no, they put them in, now remember this is supposed to be a medical government airplane with doctors and medical attention to get there. Well, it's unair conditioned. It's a small plane. It's over 100 degrees in the plane for the entire trip. And when they asked the medical people, how long have you been a doctor? They said, well, I'm learning through experience right now. I haven't really had any schooling or training. What? What? Can you believe that kind of thing? Well, I believe it because I know what the medical situation is in a lot of countries because I've traveled the world. A lot of people get caught off guard. They think Mexico is just the same as the United States, Canada, Britain. And it's not. It's not at all. So they finally got back. They found out, lo and behold, they needed, their injuries were worse than they thought. And luckily, they got the attention they need, and they're recovering in hospital right now after over $50,000 laid out in cash on this trip. Now, in this story, they mentioned a few things like they noticed that the scooter was worn and in bad condition, and they said that's the cause of the accident. Well, I'm going to have to take them at their word for that it's the cause of the accident. Maybe you lost control of the scooter. Maybe somebody ran a red light. Who knows the real reason? But if you think an item or a place or a thing isn't being run properly, don't get on. It's not worth the $100 cost of the excursion to not go. For instance, if you go and you see that the ATVs that you're renting or the boats that you're renting or anything look run down and they're sputtering and stalling out and everything, don't get on. Go back to the cruise ship. Tell them at the cruise shore excursion desk that you want your money back for that excursion because it's unsafe. The vehicles they were using is unsafe. Now, the cruise lines do inspections. They send their own crew members almost every single port. They will randomly send out crew members to experience the different shore excursions and see what it's like. You'll see them, dancers get on, you'll see restaurant people get on, you'll see some officers get on, and they will go and check all the items from that excursion. They do their best, but it's a third party. And it says right on your shore excursion, these are operated by third-party operators. The cruise lines are not responsible. You do these excursions at your own risk. The only thing the cruise line guarantees is that the ship will not leave without you if you're late. Now, if you're in hospital and not making it back to the ship, that's a completely different story. But yeah, number one tip right there, don't ever go on an excursion. Don't do a zip line where it looks like the guys are just fooling around and not paying attention to what's going on. Those kind of things. Absolutely. And if you're on an excursion where the driver is driving unsafe, get out and head back. Because if he gets in an accident, it's you who will pay the price. Secondly, passports. I say it only costs like $100, $200 to get a passport for 10 years. Right? People will spend $500, $600 on a slot machine when they go on a cruise. They'll spend $5,000 on a Star Wars drink on board, yet they won't do $200 for their passport that lasts 10 years. Bring a passport. Get a passport. Even if you're just going to Mexico, even if you're just going to Canada, anywhere you go, it's worth having that passport because a lot of the stuff that also happened to them could have been solved if they had their passport with them. Some of those fines and things that they paid, it's because they didn't have a passport. And yeah, it's just, It just makes sense, folks. It just makes sense. Also, how many times do I have to say it? No matter where you're going, travel insurance. Sounds fun. I'm just heading down to Cozumel for like 5-day cruise. What's going to happen? Come on, it's just a regular city. I'm going to be on a vacation. I'm on a cruise. Nothing's going to happen. Bam! You're in a car accident of some kind. You're in the hospital and no insurance. And you could be like this family and just spent $50,000. It's not worth it, folks. It's just not worth it. It can bankrupt a family. You can lose your home over the cost. They got lucky they got back. $11,000 would have been nothing for the hospital fees there in Mexico had this gone on for 2 or 3 weeks. It would have been in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. You can lose your entire house because you didn't spend $300 on insurance. Just saying, it's not worth it. Always, always have travel insurance when you travel. Cruise line insurance, third-party insurance, whatever you want to do, but have medical insurance and have evacuation insurance on it. Cannot stress that enough. The family themselves have started a GoFundMe page. If you're interested, it's the Daniels family in Waco, Texas. I don't have the link or anything like that. It wasn't in the article that I could see, but I just thought I'd bring this out as a warning to everybody. Just a simple thing like hopping on, a scooter, hopping on an ATV, hopping on a catamaran. You never know what can happen. And it's best to be aware and prepared. And especially if you're leaving the United States and going to a place like Mexico, Brazil, Africa, China, Japan, all these places, your hospital bills would be through the roof. So please take precautions and be aware. If it doesn't look safe, don't do it. It's not worth the $100. I'm saying right now. Well, I hope you appreciate this video. I hope you got a little bit of knowledge from it. If you did, please hit the subscribe button, baby. Hit that notification bell just to let you know, hey, there's other videos out here you might want to check out and keep up to date with all things cruising. And until next time, have yourself a safe and a great vacation.